Welcome back to the Pursuit of Profit podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode with John Erlandson, co-founder and president of Soccer Stars. Today, we're discussing how they acquired an existing business and used franchising to scale it across the country, how they grew their corporate-owned locations to $18 million. We discussed the underserved market and how 80% of their revenue is from ages 8 and under, and why passion and creating a lasting legacy is so important to John and his partners. We hope you enjoy the show, and please follow us as we drop new episodes each week on Wednesdays.
I think the journey on how we got here, myself and my partner, is actually a lot of the journey that franchisees go on of like, it's almost desperation. I don't know how to describe it, of like for 20 years wanting to be an entrepreneur. How do I get there? How do I do it? And then you finally accumulate enough capital and almost just as importantly, enough skill to jump the fence into entrepreneurship and like the anxiety of getting there and everything that you go through. And so for me, where I think I'm the most relatable with franchisees is like that journey of just, how we help people get there. And that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. Everybody else in the business, like living the on-field experience. And this is how the Coach Marshmallow thing came about. We go to buy this business and we have, equity backgrounds. We have exercise physiology backgrounds. We're putting this all together. And I'm like, man, I'm going to buy a little kid's business. Now, I don't go on the field that often, but when I do, once a year, everybody's required to get out there regardless of your executive level. And I went through coach training and I'm like, look, I'm a big, scary dude when it comes to a 3-year-old. Like there's no way the kids are going to warm up. And one of the trainers is like, listen, get down on eye level and just go, hi, buddy. I'm Coach Marshmallow. What's your name? And watch them smile and laugh and warm right up to you. Boom. And I was like, this is the In-N-Out burger of soccer. Like they figured out all these little things to just make the content juicy. And it's been absolutely incredible ever since. And so to me, that was what made this brand special.
It's one of my favorite parts about franchising. For McDonald's, it's sesame seeds on a bun, 2 patties, another bun in between. Like that's part of the model. For Soccer Stars, it's getting on the child's level, calling yourself coach, whatever funny name. And like these are things that franchisors have figured out through experience. I love those little things that you're able to teach a franchisee that make a huge difference.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much more there is to just building a soccer business than just going out and buying soccer balls. Because you're like, well, anybody that knows how to coach could go out and start this business, right? And what we tell a lot of the franchisees is, listen, just because you like to drink doesn't mean you should go buy a bar. So guys that come in, it's a lot of guys, a couple girls, but I love soccer. I'm all about soccer. It's all I want to do. A lot of times they're missing the bigger picture of what they're buying. And what they're buying is a community service business, right? They're buying a business where money is a wonderful byproduct of changing a kid's life. And if you believe that, it changes your whole methodology in the way you approach it. You don't mind throwing on a jersey and going to a community event and being the guy or the girl that's out there that everybody knows and the kids know and they love the brand. And so that mindset is incredibly important because it totally frames your approach to the business. As opposed to if you frame it from a soccer perspective, you just want to get on the field all the time, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you can only build the business so big, right? You got to work on your business, not in your business. And so it's where we spend a lot of time with our franchise partners.
It's amazing how many founders say that on the call, isn't it, Justin? Like people who listen to the show regularly, that right there. And again, you're back to Michael Gerber, E-Myth, work on it, not in it. It's like the best advice. And what's crazy about this simple one-liner, most people can't do it. They cannot help themselves. They cannot help themselves but get on the field instead of interviewing, acquiring new customers, responding to online reviews. Something so simple, like Justin said, little tweaks make the difference between, oh, wow, you're a national brand? I've been in the soccer business for 30 years. I only own one location. Right. He's been in the soccer business for 30 months and he's going to have hundreds of locations. It's the little things, right? It's like that Walt Disney that interview, which I love. Like, what do you obsess over? Chipped paint.
Yeah.
Like the little thing. I love that.
It's amazing. I just got done reading his biography, the one right after he died. So I think it was in the 60s or the 70s. My favorite part of the whole book, because the guy's life's unbelievable, right? Yeah. And so my favorite part of the book is he just finishes Disneyland and there's a ride that's out of order. And I was using this for my staff, and I use it with the franchisees when we're doing master training. And he's like, find me the manager. He sees something he's irritated about. Manager comes over, staff comes over. He goes, look at that out of order sign. There is nothing special about the font on that out of order sign. There's nothing creative. There's nothing thought out about it. It's just simple and plain. And it's not what we do. And I use that example with my staff, and like that little attention to detail, and almost comes back to the Coach Marshmallow thing, is the difference between good and great. I mean, it really is. And it's a relentless pursuit. And if you want to kind of like gauge how good your franchisor is, we challenge ourselves all the time, right? So I have a perspective from being in the helicopter looking down. So when I'm coaching a franchisee, I've already solved the problems oftentimes 15 times for other franchisees, right? So you go, wow, this is so easy. It's so obvious. If you're a good franchisor, there's somebody that probably could be sitting above you, looking down at you, giving you the same critique, right? And so it's very hard to critique yourself. But just like that on-field example, there's something we're doing as a franchisor that we could be doing way better that we're not seeing. And so what we've started doing is getting in a lot of mastermind groups and just finding everybody and anybody that is in this industry that is franchised forever, and just, hey, pick in their brain. How did you do this? How did you do this? And, it's the Tony Robbins, success leaves clues. Mm-hmm. Well, you find people that built businesses to 100 million, 200 million, a billion. And what's been really fascinating about franchising, the more networking we've done, they all kind of did the exact same thing.
Right.
And that's why franchising is so successful. We have our new franchisees come in and they'll be nervous about buying. And so we start out with like, I'm not going to sell you. I'm actually going to try to talk you out of this. This isn't a sale. This is a partnership. If you hate this, I'm stuck with you for 10 years, right?
That's right.
We need to make sure that if you can't deal with this now, this ain't right for you. I say this to franchisees all the time. You literally start a business. Within 10 years, I think 90% are gone, right? You have better odds going to the casino with your money. Franchising flips that entire model on its head and gives you a 90+% chance of succeeding. It's not just us. It's other good franchise systems too. And so get your nerves out of the way on that right now. We don't need to worry about that. What we need to worry about is, hey, it's Saturday morning and your coach called out. What are you going to do? Do you have backup managers? Do you have systems in place? Do you want to be out there when the coach doesn't call out talking to the parents? Are you afraid to talk to the parents? Are you afraid to talk to the schools, right? Do you want to build a team, not just the way you coach kids and change their lives, but of young adults that come into work for you and work in your organization, and they want to grow too, right? And so if you want to teach those young people those life skills, I'll give you a good, simple one. How often I think back to when I was like in my early 20s, I'm like, I was an idiot. Like you'd walk in and the person at the front desk, you don't even walk up and say hi to, right? You just like give them the nod and you walk right by. It's the kids in the preschool class. That person controls your entire destiny on the renewal, on convenience of getting the kids out of class, when something goes wrong, covering your back. So like if you don't know that person's name and you're not dropping off a thank you card for Starbucks and all this type of stuff, like what are you doing? You're no different than Johnny Soccer that walks in there with the balls. And like, that's what we just teach relentlessly. And that's what's made the platform so special over the last couple of years.
People need to understand that, because so many people just think, why would I invest in this franchise? I got to do this on my own. I played soccer in high school. I played soccer in college. I played travel. No, there's more to business than just saying, I know this, let me just do it on my own. Most of those people fail. It's just a reality. They don't know what you know. They don't have the systems. They don't have the hiring methodology. They don't have the brand name, right? They don't know how to approach the school. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to compensate people. It's a sum of everything that makes a franchise great. And what you're building is insanely impressive. And out of the interest of the call, I would like to focus on Soccer Stars. I think, Justin, you agree, right? Because there's multiple banners under your Youth Athletic Athletes United. Is it fair to say we should focus on Soccer Stars?
Yeah, I'll go high level. So high level, the idea of building a platform of brands was, especially remember, 80-90% of our revenue is 800. Those kids move through sports all the time, right? They move through different things. And so they want to try a variety of things. And so if you think about the biggest cost in this business is customer acquisition cost. And so when you think about customer acquisition costs, the cheapest way to get a customers, to keep them in a trusted platform of brands. So that's where we started. Was we're going to build this platform of brands that all focus on 8 and under, that all have that same little secret sauce. We're not going to build them from scratch. They've been around for 20 years. They've been proven, and they need better business systems and better technology and better franchisee support. We also own, a very large amount of units. You can see it in our FDD. I think last year was over 18 million in revenue. And so we always tell our owners, I'm never going to ask you to do something with your money that I'm not doing with my own. Like, so these owners will come in all the time. Oh, I got a great idea. I'm going to open a store. And I'm like, let me tell you, I lost $100,000 opening the store. And if you still want to do it, that's fine. But I've got all the information here of how to do it better, right? Because we're generally a mobile business. You get your equipment, you run it out of your home till you get really big. And then some of our franchisees in our offices will actually have offices. It's a very low cost model. And whether you're in Soccer Stars, Amazing Athletes, or Play TGA, which is tennis, golf, pickleball, and we do other athletics as well. Every one of those runs mobile, runs high quality content for 30 minutes to 60 minutes, and we bring the sports to you. And we teach the fundamentals in an incredible way of just like, how do we make this really engaging and really entertaining? Like, I'll give you the golf club one. How do you hold a golf club? Hot dog in a bun, right? Like, no kid's ever going to forget that, right? And so all of these little nuances kind of permeate throughout the content, and then the systems that we've built, right? Everybody needs an LMS with videos. That's a learning management system. Everybody needs a kick-ass registration system where, mom is getting the Amazon experience when she's booking out their child. But also, we use this saying a lot, especially as we go down into Soccer Stars, which is our fastest growing brand. More green time, less screen time. But we don't just mean that for the kids. We mean that for the franchisees too, right? So this relentless investment in technology, which comes up in board meetings a lot, because a lot of the free cash flow is just going right back into tech, are we really getting the return on investment versus if we bought an off the shelf system? And what I've used a lot lately, probably in the last 2 years, how I've kind of framed my mindset, we have these very complex situations, and it's actually somewhat of a detriment sometimes to be too analytically smart, because you get caught up and you lose the forest through the trees. There's just too many moving pieces. And so what I've tried to do with the team and even myself is, what is our North Star? You can only have one of those. What is the thing we are trying to achieve as an organization out of this whole level of complexity? And so when we go to that tech investment, we think about it. Our North Star is, we said we want more green time and less screen time for our Z's. And that means not being on the field necessarily. It means checking on the coaches, being in the community, going to do sales meetings, right? And so how do we do that? Well,
I like that.
if that's our North Star, we got to invest in tech. And it's going to be expensive, but we know that that is going to give our Z's an advantage like none other. And we couldn't fund that if we didn't have the platform of brands. We wouldn't be able to fund the growth of Soccer Stars if it wasn't for the platform. And one of the reasons for that was, we sometimes better be lucky than good. We got the idea from a mastermind group, and then we got lucky where we had all these amazing athletes owners that were incredible, that were retiring 15, 20 years in. Well, they had started all these businesses from scratch. So we're like, well, what are you guys going to do in retirement? They're like, I don't know. And so we're like, why don't you come back and be business success coaches for all these new soccer people? It's basically the same structure of a business, Soccer Stars and Amazing Athletes. We'll teach you the soccer part of it. And so now you get an owner that has built a business from scratch, that's been around the block, that's had every single problem that you've had. And the difference is, it took Amazing Athletes, 20 years to do that. And we've done it 18, 19 months on the soccer side, but leveraging the other resources from the platform. And so it's come together beautifully.
Most people don't get the full story when they start exploring franchising, so they make mistakes. That costs them big. That's why my business partner, Justin Guevara, and I wrote Beyond the Brand, the entrepreneur's guide to fearless franchising. It is our proven 6-step process at Franchisee to help you find the right franchise, avoid costly pitfalls, and build a business that truly fits your goals. Grab your copy of Beyond the Brand on Amazon or any major book retailer and start building your future fearlessly.
John, we were at a franchise conference last week. There were, hundreds of franchisors there. There's a lot of AI talk. It's obviously all the rage. It's hard to decipher what's just buzzword from who's actually leveraging this technology, AI or otherwise, to create real efficiencies in the business and take some responsibilities off the franchisees, right? I mean, that's kind of what franchising is all about, systems and processes.
Yeah.
Can you talk in more detail about what you guys are building and how you're leveraging some of this tech?
Yeah. So we actually failed miserably on the first run out. So I was very early of like, as you grow your franchise system, the level of what I would call tier one questions of just very simple, where's my insurance link, or where's this, or I can't find this in the back office. We tried to use chat GTP integrator to answer a lot of those questions for the franchisees just faster, so they have 24/7 support. And the problem is, it was a great idea on paper, but when you have a rapidly growing system where your manuals are constantly changing and the information is constant, it's impossible because it can't keep up, which means we're all in the writing business. A lot of it, like when you think about it, I don't know if you've seen it, and it's kind of scary, but it's the best relatable example I can give is, have you ever seen you can feed like a manual into one of the, I think it was chat GTP, and it'll do a podcast for you on that manual. It's kind of scary, but it's not going to replace you guys. Like it loses that edge of personality, right? And it's kind of the same way with AI in the business. The biggest thing is it's been supportive of like, hey, you can write faster, right? You can write better, you can write quicker. That's the obvious free use of it right now that we're pushing everybody towards. The customer service support, if we couldn't support franchisees where that's a more fixed question, it taking over at our level of scale and being able to replace all the customer service, probably not going to happen for a while. So to be honest, we've had a hard time trying to figure out how it can really change the face of the business. But I think on a long enough timeline, it's going to be somewhere on the service side, probably a combination between franchisees and customer service. And then beyond that, probably some back office functionality. We do spend way too much time when your business scales setting up classes in the system, right? So you're constantly like having to update the system, manage the billing calendars. And a lot of that, you have a CRM sitting over here where you have all your notes and then you have to retype it. There's probably an AI RPA bot that someday will move all that data back and forth and just create more efficiency. And we're always looking for those type of things. But we haven't found anything that's been affordable yet when you start having to build it out and then manage it and all the other structures. And so we're in kind of a unique business. I think if AI and robots replace most jobs, we're going to be at the last. Yep. I'll be long gone by the time we hit that stop on the train. So
you cashed in already.
Yeah.
I want to go back. I want to go back to a couple of comments you made. One was 80% of our revenue is 8 and under. Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
80% is age 8 and under.
Yeah, it blows most people's minds. We started 18 months. If you can walk, you can kick a ball, right? And we do parenting, and we get mom and dad on the field, and it's awesome. And so the thing we are teaching is, everybody says, oh, sports, I'm teaching life lessons. We all kind of regurgitate the same stuff because I think everybody in the industry is generally really good people in this industry. Whether it's our, some of our biggest competitors, we know all those owners, they're great guys. We have drinks with them when we see them at conference. It's a really good industry of people that are just trying to help kids. And I think everybody, really believes in that. But what makes us a little unique is we really do focus at these younger ages where sports is almost kind of a byproduct of teaching just basic skills, how to interact with other kids on the field. What do you do when you don't get your way or it doesn't work out? How to not get frustrated, and really just evolving as a person. And if you don't, again, we go back to our North Star. Are we trying to churn out kids for sports teams? The answer is no. Those kids will find sports teams. They're going to end up there naturally anyways if they're great at it. I want the kid that was afraid to play in gym class, or like, all their friends are picking up stickball in the backyard and they're like, I don't even want to try. Right. And so we're trying to build healthy lifestyles. Athletes will come along and they'll find their way through because they're athletes. They always do. They always will. Right. And so we just see the market as so much broader of just helping kids understand sports, activity, and realizing that part of a healthy lifestyle is having some element of that in your life, until the day you die. And so that's where we believe we're building those core foundations.
When I sat at your table last week at IFPG, the takeaway was fun first, soccer second, life skills third. And I'm like, okay, I like that. instead of leading in with, okay, kids, we're going to learn how to play soccer. It's like, I'm 18 months old, right? I'm 2 years old. What did he say? We're doing life skills. It's like, no, you're learning life skills, but you don't actually know you're learning life skills. That's the power of teaching. It's like, how
You're
many
learning
lessons?
skills through play. Through play. It's fun.
My son has no clue sometimes that we're doing life skills or whatever we're doing, and he's having fun doing it. It's like, yeah, here's the takeaway. You had no clue that you were learning something. That's what makes teachers great, when the kids are having fun first, but then they're learning the material, and then the life skills come last. I think it's great. So I love that. Another thing you said, did you say 18 million?
Yeah, on the corporate units, I think we're a little over 18 last year.
18 million. How do I extrapolate that into like territory size? If I was doing 18 million, what's the territory equivalent of that?
It's interesting. And this is where I think people and a lot of the brokers actually have said, hey, listen, we appreciate the way you don't. The FDD is an interesting kind of tool that most people don't understand. When you start franchising, this is very important. If a lot of potential franchisees listen to your podcast again, and I always go, whether it's our business or anybody's business, like we're here to kind of make the world a better place. So we want to educate people on these things. When a franchisor with a lot of opcos, so operating territories that they own, starts out, the only thing they can put in for that first year are the units they own. Okay. Now, the units they own oftentimes were built over a very long period of time without all the restriction and rules of franchising. So it creates this illusion of something that's not necessarily what the franchise is going to look like exactly on day two. Now, the next part everybody doesn't realize is also by FDD rules, you need a full 12 months of operating before you can start producing franchise revenue and franchise numbers. So what ends up happening is you're selling franchises for almost 2 years before you actually produce any real numbers into the FDD. Mm-hmm. So what you tell all the franchisees that are prospective is call as many people as you can that are in this system and they can give you numbers. I cannot give you their numbers until they're reported in the FDD. So we encourage everybody to do your channel checks. Don't assume that because you see a Boston business that I have that's over $1 million, that you're going to be able to get there. And you're going to be able to get there in 12 months. This isn't McDonald's. This is like a lifetime annuity. It's like selling life insurance. You stack a location. You get a preschool. Might be $5,000 a year. You get another one. You get another one. But these are 20-year annuities. And they show up every month like clockwork. And so that business took 20 years to build. And again, we called this out in the FDD. There's populations. New York City, Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago, the price points are higher, the population density is higher. So what we try to do is when we have people build out their models, is we set very realistic expectations and we say, listen, go to Soccer Shots, who's been doing this. That's our biggest competitor. Again, great guys. We know them really well. And they run an incredible business. Go look at their FDD and their numbers. Because that tells you exactly, and they've been franchising for 20 years, that's a good place to kind of start to anchor expectations. Number two, go look at my Amazing Athletes FDD. Go look at my TGA FDD. That's what this business is in reality when you're franchising and you don't have a 20 million population in New York City. And so we set that tone on day one, and I got 6 months to do it. We're like, sorry, we love you, but this ain't right for you. You can't do that in this business. If you need that kind of money, you need to open a McDonald's. And by the way, you're not putting out $85,000.
That's
you're
right.
Putting out $2.5 million.
That's
right. So
like
you can't have it both ways. And you got to understand what this is when you step into it. And we've been very, very, I would say, lucky, fortunate, and good to be financially successful in our prior careers and have this unbelievable private equity firm that's a small family office. There's no pressure to do stupid things. Like we don't have to do things that are in the life's too short category to buy growth or to generate growth. So it makes it very easy to always have this kind of like, I want to do this with you. I want to partner with you. I don't need to. So like, let's lay out reality as it is tomorrow. And if you still wake up every morning and you're still like, this is cool and this is for me, you're going to love this system and you're going to be great as part of this community. And we're going to work awesome together. And so far, we've been in this now 6 years. I think our anniversary was end of September. And so we've been in it 6 years now. And man, that hasn't steered us wrong one time. And you want proof in the pudding? Go back to every single FDD we have. There's not one legal issue, not one
Wow.
anything.
I
Right.
appreciate the transparency. We see this all the time where a franchisor will put this huge number in their item 19 without explaining that that location's been operating for 30 years
Yeah.
and they service 5 states. Right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, your territory is going to be
All detail.
100,000 people. Right. But I mean, Cliff, this is probably one of the most asymmetrical investments we've seen in franchising over the past few years. We're talking about, so John's throwing around these numbers. It's average of 1.8 million across 10 units. This is a sub $100,000 investment for a single territory. It's incredible. And the
I
profit
am
margins are
amazed.
obviously insane.
There's something about there's something in the mind of the investor. It's like low investment, sports, working with kids. How much money could possibly be in that? Wait, we just had End Zone on. I was blown away at the amount of money you could make in these types of youth athletic and not even competitive. It's not like, well, we charge $5,000 a year to join our exclusive club. No, you're not. This is incredibly affordable. Aftercare programs, etc. Right?
Yeah. I think the one thing that's interesting is where people look at the ability to grow these businesses. I think the one illusion that some franchisees come into, and again, we work a lot on this, is they think you can get there without working in your business. Although that actually turns out that's a pretty common problem in franchising, because I bought this system, and what those businesses don't get that big on their own. Like, you've got to be in the business. So we prefer owner operators. We do have an executive model, but then we go in and we got smarter at this too over time, of saying, okay, hold up. Tell me about your job. Tell me about your day. Okay. Because there's an emergency phone call at 10:12 on Monday morning. Are you stuck in a meeting in a W-2 job?
Yeah.
Because if you are, that ain't an executive model that works for us. If you own a real estate business or you have a consulting business and you completely control your own hours, then sure. And I think what we've also found is, and that, again, other franchisors, same thing, is everyone can look at that number on paper and you always have that perfect vision in your mind. I'm going to get there and I'm going to control my time. You need to work your butt off in the first 2 years to build that scale. And then once you have scale, yes, you get your time back. Absolutely. Because you have team members and everything else in place.
Yeah.
But that startup and ramp up phase, like, you can't kid yourself about the size of it getting there. The guy across the street who owns the competitive business is in it 60 hours a week. Right. And so, I think for people listening to this, if you're thinking about buying a franchise in sports, in anything else, do not kid yourself on the amount of hours you have to put in, on day one.
It's
Well
such an
said.
important conversation to have nowadays. Like, it used to be so black and white. Either you're employed, okay, the assumption is you're working 40 plus hours a week, or you're unemployed. You're not working and you can commit full time to the business. Now, with work from home, I mean, I work with some clients who are working from home, like, no one's really managing them. They're working maybe a few hours a day. They have total freedom and flexibility, a ton of bandwidth. It's like, as long as you understand what it's going to take to do this, you have the time. Who am I to say, no, you can't? But it's like, it really is a conversation that the franchisor has to have with the prospect nowadays, because just because someone's employed doesn't mean they don't have the bandwidth.
I mean, this is the most amazing time in life in terms of like that level of flexibility and the things you can do and the ways you can get creative. But then, like, if you really step back, it's the same person over and over that wins, like, and because they think that way. So, if it wasn't this time and it was 20 years ago, they'd be thinking about the internet, right? And the advantages of that. The people that we find we partner best with, and I imagine this again is all businesses, but are the people that they just have that never ending, the glass is half full. There's always a way. I have that on the back of every one of my kids' iPads. I put that on there, right? Like,
Nice.
there is always a way. It may not be obvious and it may not be easy, but there's always a way to solve a problem. And I was convinced early on, like, we're pretty transparent about like all the things that, keep us up at night. Eventually we're going to sell a franchise to someone where they go in and there's just so much competition they can't get arrested. And every time for 6 years on all the brands, if the person has gotten out of bed every morning, I tell everybody this is the lowest common denominator of business. I can't run your business. And the biggest thing is I can't get you out of bed every morning excited to go to work, right? And so if you just show up, you will find holes in the business because you can create the demand. It's kind of like why there's a cheeseburger every 5 feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
youth sports, when it's mobile and it's not teams, kind of has the same thing, because I just go to a school and create the convenience for the customer, right? And so the other big thing that we have seen is, elementary schools have kind of, they've hemorrhaged. They used to run sports when we were kids. Now they don't do any of it. It's all subbed out to vendors,
That's
right?
right.
Which is crazy. And so if you go to the Parks and Rec and you're on the teams on the weekends, that's great. But sometimes that's more commitment than mom and dad want to have. And so how much easier it is to just say, stay after school for an hour. So now basically I've got aftercare and sports. You put those two together, it's kind of a no-brainer. And we've been shocked to see how wide open that is. Everybody's in there, and yet there's still a lot of schools. One of the things we do at the preschools, again, power the platform, national partnerships. So more and more, if you're not on the preferred vendor, and listen, they want less logistical work, you're not going to be able to have access to the schools. So everybody talks about, oh, I'm going to get into all these preschools, I'm going to build my business there. Well, if you're not a national partner with KinderCare and Primrose and, Learning Care Group and Spring Education Group and all these mega chains, there's 10,000 schools your franchisees can't access, right? And so the reason we were able to get a lot of these preferred partnerships is because of that level of scale of going in and saying, hey, we're already in 36 states. We're operating multiple brands. We get franchisees that work together in this environment. So if you really need variety because the school's too small to take two programs, great. Put franchisee one in the spring and franchisee two in the fall and rotate them, and then do them both in the summer. And so it has been incredible. Like it has worked. I wouldn't say it worked better than we dreamed on paper, but it's been pretty close. And so the question becomes, as we continue to finish up, we still have not integrated 100% of the acquisitions behind the scenes. Will be done by the end of this year. Software systems, online systems, back office system, rack space servers to Amazon web servers, all that stuff. Then you start thinking about, how far can you go with this platform? The brain's the biggest muscle in the body, right? Are we doing science? Are we doing STEM? Are we doing computer coding, right? Same thing, focused on the younger kids, not hyper competitive, not too serious, try it out, have a lot of fun with it. And if you just imagine the ability to move that kind of customer data through one ecosystem, it's a big, big, big value to each one of our franchise partners and to the corporate as a whole. So
Love it. Yeah. Look at Snapology. Look at all these aftercare programs,
yeah.
Challenge Island. There is a massive market there, and you're already touching that child.
Well, here's crazy. We actually work with Snapology. And this is why we just see so much value in knowing all the other owners, because the market is still so fragmented. Like when I used to sell stuff to Target and Walmart, it was war, right? Because it was 5 people going for a shelf that might be worth $10 million. And only one person could get it. Here, there'll always be Pepsi and Coke in both markets. Like it's just, you're never going to be able to dominate the entire market. So, because there's just so many little holes. And so when we kind of look at the market opportunity as a whole, it's a very kind of friendly competition. It's a very just never ending kind of series of opportunity. And sometimes you get more opportunity than you can chew. And I'll give you the example of Snapology. So we go in, we're doing sports at an after school program. The care provider that was basically managing the whole after school. So they're doing everything from theater dance to, soccer stars to other things, Spanish ballet, Mandarin classes, called it quits. I don't know why, long story, had a fallout with the school. So we ran in and said, listen, we can run this entire thing under Amazing Athletes. We'll sub the soccer portion out to ourselves. We'll sub the multi-sport out to Amazing Athletes. We'll sub tennis and golf out to our TGA franchisee. And they're like, hey, but we need a Lego program. So no problem. We'll call the Snapology guys. We'll cut a deal with them. We'll bring them in. We don't do that. And so we brought that franchisee in-house, and we know they're owners of their corporate partnership, Unleash Brands, who actually owns a variety of brands. They basically do what we do at a higher level, bigger and in retail boxes. And we worked out a deal with them, and we have a great partnership. And
Power franchising. Love it.
We think about everything. It's just like the pie can almost always get bigger, right? And we tell people, and I use this a lot too, of listen, I know you probably have a sports background. You're probably really competitive, right? So if you're the type of asshole that drives by a lawn sign of a competitor and wants to kick it over, probably not going to fit in. Now, if you think about it and you stop yourself, that's the line where we're probably okay.
Right.
You need to be competitive to a point without jumping, because we're working with little kids and we're trying to teach life skills. And if that's the line you're willing to jump to win, this might not be the thing for you, you know? And so we're always thinking about the person, because that is the business.
That's great. I think that was smart we did with Snapology. I just saw Raw Capital do that with Subway. I went on the Subway website just to see what is the instant benefit of an acquisition like that. They already added Annie's pretzels and Cinnabon desserts already done on the menu, ready to go. You can see how they're leveraging off of all their acquisitions. I think what you did with Snapology is super smart.
And we know the Rourke guys really well. They're awesome. I mean, they're best in class. Like it was, we were just talking to them years ago and kind of getting a feel for understanding franchising. We network, we talk to everybody. And so they took a look at our data and they were able to provide us more comprehensive analysis of our business, because we'd have all these things in PDFs where we couldn't extract the data.
Right.
They ran it through their machine and I was like, this is unbelievable. We weren't ready. We were too small to do anything with them, but I was shocked at their data analytics, and it opened up my eyes and gave us a big kick in the ass of like, hey, we need to double down on this new tech platform.
So true. 20 years ago, people were saying it's all about big data, data. I don't even know what this means. You gotta aggregate your data.
Yeah.
What am I doing with all this aggregate? I got PDFs coming out of my ears. I've got hard drives of data. What we didn't understand is what they were going to do with all that data. Now they know the customer better than the customer knows themselves. They can anticipate your buying habits. They could see trends. It is remarkable what big data, and of course, all that data is now really called AI.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that we don't even know what we want to buy anymore. The internet tells us what we want to buy.
You take that a step further. And what's interesting is that's kind of become the obvious use case. Let me tell you the non-obvious use case with small business owners with big personalities. And I'm one of those people. I always say, like, listen, I'm a car salesman's dream because you can get me excited about anything. And I'm like, all right, I'm in, right?
Right.
So a lot of the franchise owners are like that. They've got big personalities. They're good talkers. And when you find those types of people, they can talk themselves into anything. Well, that's a double-edged sword, right? Just because we can solve a problem doesn't mean we should solve that problem, right? We maybe could just avoid it altogether. And so what you'll see an owner get excited about an idea, and I'll get excited because we're always new idea. And then I go, stop. Does anybody have any data to back up any of the BS that just came out of our mouths? Is there one data point to support anything that anyone just said? And if it's just blank stares around the room, we're like, put it in the parking lot. It doesn't mean we don't do it. It just, I want to be convinced with some sort of data. And that's the data usage that no one ever talks about. And almost to a fault sometimes. Like our private equity firm, finally, after like 4 years, we were in a board meeting. And they go, guys, this is the most boring deck you've presented yet. And the numbers are the best they've ever looked. Why? Because we finally found a system that worked, lock, stock, and barrels. And now it's rinse, wash, repeat with 1 to 2 new things every single year, right? That just keeps the system fresh and growing, as opposed to churning out a new idea every month. And what we found for our franchisees was they're like, guys, you're churning out too much. Churn out less. I'm a 5-person business. I'm a 12-person business. I can't do all of that and keep up with every new system that you guys want to launch. And so with us coming in, one of the learning curves on franchising was you actually are better doing less and use that data to pick your best idea or two that's going to be a game changer. Little secret sauce is really when Soccer Stars started to explode. We happened to start our partnership with Fastlane, who's been incredible, and then it's kind of been a rocket ship from there. And so that was a big learning in the first couple of years.
It is true. As a franchisor, franchisees have a lot of ideas, right? They want to be a part of what's going on. They want to be a part of helping the brand grow and evolve and adapt. And it's up to the franchise. So the franchisor should listen, right? Mm-hmm. These are the people who are out in the field and doing things and experiencing things, but you have to be selective, and it matters how you beta test and roll things out.
That's right.
Because it can be extremely costly, not only for you, but to the people who are out in the field in the business.
Absolutely. But Justin, I'm glad you brought that up, because what's really interesting is there's a bifurcation in the way you just laid that out in terms of new ideas and really basic things you just need to fix and not be stubborn about. The advantage of not building a franchise brand from scratch is we love all our brands equally, but we love our franchisees more. And at the end of the day, if someone's like, dude, I had to spend X number of hours clicking a button. That's not something that like, hey, we got a plan to roll out. That is get that on the emergency roadmap and get this thing done in 60 days. I want results and I want this fixed because it affects everybody. And we're not perfect, right? But at least you got to have that mindset. Then there's the big ideas. And then actually we've got which are just good systems. Hey, we're going to evolve from, after school to after school management. Here's how we want to do that. But then there's this new generation, which I think is fairly unique to us of what we're creating called intrapreneurship, where a franchisee has gone so far above and beyond, we might partner with them to actually launch this new thing. So for example, Amazing Athletes was running, forever, doing great with its 10-sport multi-sport. And one day a franchisee came to us and said, hey, I've got a guy who works for me. He thinks he could copy the whole Amazing Athletes system, but create a karate program for preschools. We're like, I was like, pilot, we'll give you a flyer. We came up with the name Karate Zoo, and the class is sold out like that. And we're like, oh, wow, there's something here. So we partnered with that owner and that employee, built kind of a subsystem under Amazing Athletes where they get a share of the profits in that brand, and they do all the training and the onboarding. And now Karate Zoo is its own new subset under Amazing Athletes. And we've had, from zero, I think it'll do 400,000 or 500,000 this year in that range, roughly in total system-wide revenue. But to go from zero to that is pretty incredible. So people are just layering it onto their businesses and they're growing 10, 20, 30% by just calling customers they already have and going, I got karate now. So we're doing another thing than Soccer Stars side, where we were calling them basically spirit leagues. And what they are is, you normally have your Parks and Rec League, but it's great, but it does have the, kids show up 50% of the time because it's rec. It's inconvenient because I got to come home after school. Someone's got to get me back to the park. So we basically took that whole model, flipped it on its head and put it right in the elementary school, right after school. And it's all intramural. And then there's one big event where you play all the other elementary schools at the end. And it's co-branded. The jerseys with your school logo would be right here. And so a franchisee came up with that. We're doing the exact same thing, entrepreneurship, building the system, and then pushing it out to all the other franchisees for their benefit. And so that's the way we look at idea generation. And that has evolved over 6 years of just being relentless about what is the hyper efficient way to get new things out into the market and get franchisees growing.
I like it.
Cool.
We've learned an awful lot about youth sports. A couple of things I want to mention for the audience. I always feel like in youth sports, you need to rent a field. And what I learned about your brand is we don't need a field, right? We're not rec sports. That we need a small space, even indoors. It could be indoors. These are, like you said, 80% of our revenue is kids under 8 years of age. We don't need an entire soccer field. Expand on that a little bit. Do they need direct industry experience? Do they need the field? Like what does it take?
So, number one, you don't have to be a salesperson. That's not our role. But you do have to be able to go out and talk to people. Because if you can't go to a preschool, an elementary school, hey, I'm John with Soccer Stars. Love to ask you about your enrichment. Are you guys doing anything today? Literally, that is the technique of how we teach everyone to open up, because it starts a conversation, not a, hi, I'm John with Soccer Stars. Let me tell you why I'm great. I'd love to get in here, right? Because most people get nervous and that's what they do. Clearly, I do a lot of the sales training. So I've developed our whole program of teaching people that are not salespeople how to go in and do cold calls and how to follow up. Light bulbs on moment is if I get on the podcast or the interview with you and you make me smile in the first 30 seconds, you've got the personality. You're going to do really, really well. If you've got resting angry face, may not be for you. Now, we've had some owners that have actually been really good that just don't pop off the screen. But for the most part, it's that type of person that just does really well in their community. So you got to start there. Now we got to go find space, right? Space is anything. It's grass, it's turf, it's gym floor, it's parking lot. I mean, it's Central Park. Places that we use in Central Park, they're not flat. And when I mean not flat, they're rolling, right? Because grass in New York City is at such a premium, and we've been running classes there for 20 years. And so with the kids at the age that we work with, again, primarily we do go older, but it's definitely that focus on that younger kid. If there are kids with free time and there's some source of money, meaning it can be from a state grant, it can be from a parent pay, it can be from the school district budget, we can bring the sports to that school, that area. I mean, I've coached classes in a hallway, rainy day, They have no indoor space. And we're like, all right, well, we're going to take this class and we're just going to do it in the hallway. And we only got 6 kids. So we'll go back and forth. And 30 minutes, they're little kids. You can take them being in that hallway. Guys, the whole class today, we're in a spaceship. So the whole time we're going to be in the spaceship and we're going to have to be very careful we don't knock into the walls of the spaceship or we might fall out of outer space. So we're moving the ball around our cones to, fix the reactor and like, oh, you touched the wall, Billy, the alarm's going off. Everybody's got to jump up and down to fix it. Like you take these kids on an imaginary journey and the space is almost second tier to that journey. And that's why we're doing it.
Are you paying it all? If I run my business out of just a county park, am I paying for that space?
It's shockingly all over the board from if you're in California, they're taking 40%. And what they do is they just take whatever price you want to put, they market it, the parks department marks it up 40%. It is amazing. I don't know how beautiful weather is like the most important thing you can have on planet Earth, I'm convinced. But they make it work. And so we have phenomenal relationships with those parks and rec. And actually, what is great about that, they help you with a lot of the marketing. They help you with filling the classes. They maintain the fields. So you get insane amounts of value when you pay that out. There's other places in the country that have the opposite side of like, we don't even permit. It's first come, first serve. That's you want to use that open grass? Go right ahead. If it's open every Saturday morning, it's all yours. And then there's everything in between of, there's fixed rev shares on national partnerships a lot of times. Sometimes they're 10%, sometimes they're, 30, depending on the size and the way we do it. Churches, a lot of times you give a donation back because they're always looking to raise money, right? So what a better way to raise money than just asking people for money to provide services and then get fees back. That is one thing that comes up. It's not a hard negotiation. It's not like back and forth. It's like 10%, 12%. Like it isn't that. Right? Like, this is such a small byproduct of someone that's managing, a school or a religious institution or a parks and rec department. All of those things, when you look at them holistically, we're a fraction of what they're there to do. It is pretty cool. As you go out and you work with all the city employees, you find that like they're not there for the money. They're not there for the job and the stability and everything else. And there's benefits to those jobs. They believe that it is their mission to service the community by providing high quality programming, by providing parades. I've never had spent a lot of time in community businesses in my past. And it's really cool to watch how much people just passionately believe that they're changing their world in their own special way. And it's pretty cool. And it all starts with kids and the things that you provide. And so that's been one of those things that I didn't even see coming in the business that just gets you out of bed every morning. And so it comes back to where you started the question of how do I go find space and build this business? Well, you got to be in your community and you got to be one of those people that likes talking to other people that believe in their community. And if you do that, even if you're the most awkward, nervous person on planet Earth, you cannot fail if you show up every day and you try. It's just not that hard of a business. Have we had people fail? Absolutely. And every one of those people, I could use them as a reference to this day because they will point to themselves. They will not point to us. We like to joke we're aggressively helpful. So it's nothing like you'll see us whenever you're having a problem. You can call me anytime. I'm available. If you want to talk at 6 a.m., call my business partner. Right. So but we are always available to make sure that we're there to help you. And we tell people, if you have a personal problem, if you have a marriage problem, this ain't going to solve. If you have a health problem, don't buy a business. Not this business, not any business. Get that worked out first, right? Yeah. If you really can't get yourself out of bed in the morning, everybody goes, well, I was a great corporate W-2 employee. Well, you think that until no one's over you, right? You knew if you didn't get out of bed, you weren't going to get paid, you weren't going to have a job, you couldn't eat. Now, I'm not your boss. I'm your business partner, right? So I'm not calling you to ask if you got out of bed. And so we find if you can't check those boxes and you can't be honest with yourselves about those things early, you're going to run into a world of problems afterward, no matter how good the system is. And I mean, other than that, it really ain't that hard. I mean, those are the things we focus on. And if you check those boxes, we'll find a way to help you win. And what's, I guess, probably any business, every now and then you have a franchisee that gets on one of the mastermind because we do all these group calls by region, by level of revenue, because we want you to be in with your franchisees, right? And share ideas. And you'll hear somebody that got on like, I opened last week. I went out, closed 10 schools in my first day.
Wow.
And someone else is like, man, I'm in a hyper competitive market. I've been selling for 3 weeks. I just get my first school. I mean, that's the luck of the draw sometimes. But both of those people, if they are relentless on a long enough timeline, will win.
You can't measure in days or weeks.
Right.
We had a client call us up last month. She's like, Justin, I'm 2 months in and I'm not. I'm like,
Sure.
Go back out and keep selling. You're 2 months in. Like nothing happens overnight.
Yeah.
Get out there. Why are you calling me? Go out and sell. Get out in your market. Go win some jobs. Like don't even think about stopping yet. You're 2 months in. This does not happen that quickly.
And it's cool how you can apply these lessons back. And if you have young kids, like it's just like this cycle of lessons, like you learn them, apply them in your personal life. So my daughter's been in competitive cheer forever. And she's finally at a point where she's like, listen, I think I'm done with this. Like, it's just, I'm not having fun, right? I don't love the sport anymore. I said, well, there's an issue. We have a no quitting policy in this house. Like, we don't quit. You can quit at the end of the season. I kind of stepped back from that. I said, when my dad implemented that in the 80s, I do think it changed my life. But in the 80s, sports were 6 weeks. They were 8 weeks. They were 10 weeks. They weren't a year, right? Like, it never ends in this competitive sport realm. So we had a franchisee declare personal bankruptcy on Amazing Athletes a couple years ago. And it's, it takes forever to go through the process. And I talked to her 50 times and said, listen, I can get you out of all your problems. You have to go sell. All you have to do is show up. Because by the way, our debt, we're unsecured. We're not getting a dime out of this thing. And I can see the credit reports. If she had just gone out and sold, she could have fixed every one of her personal life problems. I went to my daughter and I looked at it and I was like, you know what? If you want to quit, you go in there in person, you look the coach in the eye, you say, hey, coach, thank you for everything you did. We had an incredible time. I've learned a ton. But, I just can't. It's not for me anymore. I'm ready to move on. Shake the guy's hand and walk out. Because I know how hard that is. As a 13-year-old kid, I would have been afraid to do that. Mm-hmm. And so if you can do that, you're the type of person that will figure out your problems in life later on. So if you want to quit, you got to go do this. And it's insanely hard for someone at your age.
And it's not a text.
And that's where she started. She's like, let me set out. That's the problem with society today.
It's so easy to break up with you. Bye. Not interested anymore. Dating someone else.
I'll keep doing cheerleading for the rest of my life.
Yeah, right. I'll do 8 more months. No problem, Dad. I actually enjoy it.
I'll be cheerleading until I'm 55.
That's great. She's still got pom-poms. She's got an arthritic condition in her elbow.
But that's why I love this business, because I've never been in a business where the sports lessons just keep trickling into my family life. And I see it with the franchisees.
Sure.
And I see it with our competitors. And I see it with the stories with all the brokers. And it's just like, man, what an incredible way to wake up every day and take control of my time on planet Earth. And to be able to just do something that just like, man, I get this surge of endorphins every day because of just random stuff like that happens. And I actually truly, truly believe that's a lot of our franchise owners too.
I totally agree with you. It's like I'm putting my kid in soccer. He's learning how to get along with other kids. He's learning reasoning skills, problem solving skills, dexterity skills, like just being active. We live in a culture where everybody's fat at 4. Yeah. How could you be fat at 4? How did that even happen?
Oh, well, we live in a culture where these kids are not challenged. I mean, we had challenges when we were kids just by the nature of just society didn't have every single problem solved. And I'm sure it was worse every generation you go back. But man, the one thing I love about sports is it creates intangible challenges. And I had to change my mindset on competitive cheer because I was like, she's miserable right now. This was last season because she didn't get the role she wanted or whatever. But where else are you getting that lesson? Great. Go work harder. Go practice a little bit harder. Try again. Sometimes you fail. And you know what? She eventually got there. School doesn't create those lessons anymore.
John, right? So my son played competitive, club league soccer. And we had one really bad coach after the other. I mean, leadership, as you know, in this country, a lot of things have just suffered. So I said, Chase, stay in the game. I want you to view this differently. That's your future boss. That guy, that personality, putting you on the sidelines, not seeing your value, not playing you properly, putting you in the wrong position, that's your future boss. Stay in the game, learn people, learn psychology, learn how to resolve conflict, learn how to diffuse and avoid conflict. Just learn it all, man, because you're being baptized by fire.
Learn how to control your own emotions, right? It's interesting when I look at what sports does on the frustration side, actually in some weird way, that's actually kind of the point now. It teaches this intangible lesson of like, dude, the world is not just going to go your way at every turn because your parents were successful. And I don't think I'm going to stop doing this for a long time. You know, Adam and I say we'll be doing this till we retire. And I think as long as I'm having fun and we're working with incredible people and, you know, we're growing, if we're not growing, that's boring to me. You know, we'll go on and do something else. But right now, I just think the opportunity is endless and the people are wonderful. The output is wonderful. Oh, and by the way, we make good money too. Right. And that's a great way to live. And so that kind of summarizes our system in a nutshell.
I love your passion and your energy, man. I mean, not just for your brands, but I get the sense that you love being a franchisor. And what I mean by that is we talk to a lot of founders, and sometimes I get the feeling that it's like, do you really love franchising, or are you passionate about like, I got to sell as many of these things as quickly as possible so I can get a CEO in place or a private equity injection, get me out of this thing. Because I'm really not enjoying it. I just want to build something and get the hell out. But I feel like you love this.
I think a lot of people come into franchising with good intentions. They have a big vision for what they want to achieve. And maybe they love their product too, but they don't love that they get pushback. They don't love to be challenged. They don't love, not from an employee that they can just say, hey, listen, like if you don't like it, don't work here. From a business partner. And for us, like we live for those challenges. We live for those things. And it's not perfect. I actually sometimes I appreciate getting in a little bit of a back and forth with a potential new franchisee on like a legal term that they don't love in the agreement, explaining why we can't change it. Because I want to see how that person reacts, right? Because this ain't going to be the last time we have a problem together or a challenge we got to solve, right? And so if you and I can work through that in a pretty civil way and you're pretty intellectual about it, and maybe I got to give something here, you give something there, I'm like, dude, this is somebody I can solve any problem, right? And so to me, like you go to conference and there's going to be 300 plus people there this year, and the energy of that, like that's what I love. And I get out of bed, and a lot of franchisors, they deep down hate that part of it because they don't like that they're being called out. And to me, if I'm being called out, and we raise it, and we do it all the time, I tell my employees, if you screwed up, just raise your hand. Say, listen, I made a mistake, I screwed up, here's how I'm going to fix it, right? So we do the same thing. And I can't fix every problem today, but I can get you on the timeline, or I can tell you, hey, listen, you've been voted off the island by your fellow franchisees. Go talk to them. They put your problem down here. Right? But I love that part of it. My partners, the whole group that's with us, you know, all the employees have some form of equity in the business. And so they're all business partners and owners too. And they love that. They have that mindset. We have that culture. And I think that's why you feel that energy.
Well, accountability is another thing that we learn through sport. Right?
Yeah,
totally. Accountability for mistakes, and absolutely. Exactly. Cliff, any closing words here?
I know that John ran and built one of the most successful licensing brands. I have a trivia question for you, John. Who was the highest paid dead person in the licensing world last year?
Elvis.
Oh, that is a good question. I would think it would still be Michael Jackson.
Boom.
But,
you nailed it. Well, number two is Elvis last year.
By the way, I'm batting 0. I've never gotten one of your trivia questions right.
And the audience knows I really don't give him the answers. I ask him these things. Well, you were close. You were close. Number 2 is Elvis.
Always close.
We managed both at the last place I was at.
$500 million. He's dead. But his estate generated 500. The reason he wasn't on the list this year is because they sold the estate. Marilyn Monroe, to this day, she still makes $10 million a year.
Amazing.
Dead. $10 million a year.
Yep.
Even Bing Crosby's making $10, $15 million a year just from Christmas music. You made me go down this bunny trail. I'm like, what is this guy involved in? And then I'm realizing how much money is in not just living licensing, but deceased estate licensing. Well, just so you know, that the answer was it was Michael Jackson, $115 million.
Yeah.
And Elvis Presley was $100 million.
you got to think about everything globally nowadays, because like, you get to Shanghai, you're still hearing MJ in the airport kind of thing. Like it's right.
I
But
know.
it's crazy. Yeah.
It is crazy. I had a good time. I mean, I can't believe it's an hour. I looked up. I thought it was maybe 30 minutes. You have a contagious energy.
Well,
So
thank
We're pretty sensitive to that. We're big on that. I think energy is important. Man, like you're a powerful guy. You could feel it. And not only are you making money, you have just a wonderful legacy you've given back to what will ultimately be possibly millions of children.
Yeah.
God bless you, man. Great job. Love your brand. I've learned an awful lot about youth sports. The audience at this stage, after this episode drops and the last youth sports episode, there is a ungodly amount of money being made. 8 years of age and under, a completely underserved market. Loads of money to be made there and really give back to a community. So I love what you're doing. I want to thank you for taking the time away from your very successful business to spend it with us, man.
We love telling a story. I appreciate you giving us the platform, and we'll see you on the conference circuit.
Good seeing you, man.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss out on more great content. And if you're considering investing in a franchise, whether it's the brand you featured today or another opportunity, we're here to help. Visit us at francity.com. That's FRANOCITY.com. We love to help you take that next step towards business ownership.